Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're here to talk about Eddie Howe. Apparently there has been interest outlined by Celtic and contact has been made to Eddie Howe regarding his position as a manager and his potential interest in becoming Celtic manager. Now take everything with a pinch of salt, we'll talk about it all after the intro, but it's not a done deal, it's nothing like that. Let's not get our hopes up. I am fully ready to accept being hurt again. We'll talk about the details from the sources after the intro. Right then, Eddie Howe, the man who I have clearly said time and time again is the right man for the job. Since November I've been trying to beg Celtic through a camera to make him the new manager of Celtic Football Club. The closest thing that I could think possible to a Rodgers-esque type regime at the club is this man Eddie Howe, and according to a few reports there has been contact made by Celtic in the early stages of the recruitment process for a new manager. This is ultimately for me the one that we should be going for, and we should be throwing every single penny we can afford to bring it into the club. But there's a lot to talk about. It's not a definite. There will be other options on the table for Celtic, and I'm sure, knowing Dermot Desmond's past with spending money, I'm sure that we'll probably end up let down with the managerial appointment. We'll probably go for a sort of penny pinching option if it was there for Dermot Desmond. But for me, Eddie Howe, as I've said time and time again, is the one that we have to go for. So what are the details? What's been said? Who's saying what? Is Eddie Howe in line to become Celtic manager in the next few months? Well, according to Football Insider, there has been contact made. I'll read it verbatim for you so that I'm giving you everything that I know that you may not. So, from a report by the Football Insider, the article says Eddie Howe is interested in the vacant Celtic post but is eyeing a Premier League job this summer. Football Insider understands the 43-year-old was linked with the Glasgow Giants last November and is one of the favourites to take over from Neil Lennon. A source has told Football Insider that the club have made contact with Howe to assess his potential interest in the role in what has been described as the early part of the search process. For his part, Howe is keeping his options open and is keen to make a return to the Premier League. The Crystal Palace job is one that especially interests him, and there is major doubts over Roy Hodgson's future. So there you go, there's what's been said. Not much to work off, and as I said, take everything with a pinch of salt. There's nothing here that goes on to say that it's a definite or there is proof of this or whatever, because I know there will be a lot of doubters in the comment section below. But the fact the club have apparently made a contact with Eddie Howe is a good indication of where the club wants to head moving forward. Now, of course, I've already said I wouldn't be surprised if Dermot Desmond went for a cheaper option if it was there, or he went elsewhere. But the fact that we're heading towards talking to Eddie Howe would show to me that the board are going to be ambitious with the next appointment, and I'm not going to go for a kind of run-of-the-mill Celtic man for the job. You know, Paul Lambert out the past couple of days and ruled himself out of the running, and no surprise there because I don't think he was ever in the running, but you know, that was the last thing we wanted to see as Celtic fans. Well, I know for me and a lot of people who agree with me, we don't want someone like Paul Lambert in the job, nothing like that. We want to go outside the box, we want to go with an appointment that spells an ambitious future for Celtic. So the fact that we are making contact with Eddie Howe, to me, shows that the club are willing to go and make a kind of ambitious appointment at the top of the club. Crystal Palace, a club in the Premier League who will probably relieve Roy Hodgson of his duties come the end of the season with how they've played this season. Also a club like Newcastle who will probably part ways with Steve Bruce. There are jobs there that will definitely interest Eddie Howe in the Premier League. I think Newcastle, who have ambitions of selling the club, well, Mike Ashley has ambitions of selling the club in the future, will definitely offer a promising sort of role for Eddie Howe. Crystal Palace, a club who may not seem on paper a kind of attractive job, but you know, you look deeper down, they've got younger players there who can make a difference, and they sign some good young players. Could definitely be of interest to him too if they were giving them money to spend. But there is no doubt in my mind, if Celtic were to get the chequebook out and offer him every penny we can afford, that would become the most attractive offer. The chance for Eddie Howe to come to Scotland, win trophies, compete in European football, make a name for himself, and kind of replicate what Brendan Rodgers done to bring up his stock as a manager, is something that he wouldn't turn down, I think, if the money was in place for him to do so. Yes, the Premier League is perhaps his ultimate end game, and perhaps that's where he wants to spend his career. And you know, if he goes to a Crystal Palace or a Newcastle now, he would definitely have the chance once again to bring up his stock. But he knows coming up here, he's going to get the chance to do so much more, I think. And if the money is put in place for Eddie Howe, both as a wage terms and to spend in the transfer market, this is definitely a manager we can attract here. It's such a bigger bigger job and a bigger club than any of those two teams in England. And I know we've been kind of fooled with this in the past. We all thought the same about Brendan Rodgers, and then he chose to go to Leicester City, which in our eyes is a smaller club than Celtic. But I think if Eddie Howe was to speak around to put people like Brendan Rodgers and names in the game who have been involved with Celtic, it would be a job he would be attracted to. It's one that we ultimately shouldn't get our hopes up about, because maybe if Crystal Palace do come in and offer him a job first, that's him. He's willing to go and spend next season in the Premier League. He's there. He doesn't have to do that kind of stepping stone part. But he's never going to achieve European football or winning trophies with Crystal Palace. I don't think it would be a case of working his way up in the Premier League. And by coming to Scotland, I think there is perhaps a shortcut there if he can replicate the success that we've seen with the likes of Brendan Rodgers. So let's not get our hopes up, but it's certainly something the board have to now look at in serious detail and beat the opposition to. This is why Celtic have to make the process as quick as possible now. I know it's something that we shouldn't rush and we should take our time with, but in terms of getting things in order for next season, we need to start getting the wheels in motion. Now, I've spoke time and time again about why I think Eddie Howe is the right man for the job. I don't need to go over that again about his recruitment, his training ground work, his tactics. I don't need to go over that. If you want to hear my opinion on that, then go and watch the videos that I've made regarding the next name for the Celtic manager job. But we need to get the wheels in motion now. Make this as an attractive job as possible for people like Eddie Howe. Make this a role in which there is potential there. If people were to look at the setup under Neil Lennon, I'd understand the turn-off straight away, and I'd understand why Eddie Howe would go and choose a club like Crystal Palace over Newcastle. Over Celtic, and Newcastle over Celtic. I would understand completely, because it doesn't seem there is a lot of ambition at the club just now in terms of how we recruit, in terms of how we work as a football club, and in terms of who's running it at the top. But if we go out the way now to get Dominic Mackay in a position where he can start having influence, and we can get a director of football on board, I mean, we can look at all these different things and start putting plans ahead of next season and promise stuff to Eddie Howe and promise different things that he can control. It's certainly something I think that he'll be interested in, to come and work under a director of football. If we get one appointed over the next few weeks, then it's certainly something I think he'll jump at the opportunity at if the wheels are in motion. We can't keep this kind of stagnation at the club that's been here for years now. For the last couple of years we've just been stagnant in the way we move forward. There has been no real progress, and we've seen that with our performances on the park. It's been reflected in that. So if we start to do that now, then names like Eddie Howe will be interested. And don't get me wrong, if we don't get Eddie Howe, there are still plenty of other ambitious names out there that Celtic can reach out to and try and take the club forward. But I feel like this would be a chance wasted if we don't do it now. I feel like we need to go ahead and get those wheels in motion. Do something to attract Eddie Howe here. Every day of the week somebody should be picking Celtic over Crystal Palace, and it's the same as Rangers as well. These are two of the biggest clubs in the world. We should be attracting names like Eddie Howe here over Crystal Palace and Newcastle United. We really should be. So let's get those wheels in motion. Let's make this a promising job and something that he wants to be a part of. And to end off the video, let's just say very quickly, you don't know how much substance is down to this. The Football Insider usually quite a reliable source, but of course they're working off their own sources, so we don't know quite the ins and outs of it all. We don't know how much contact has actually been there. For all we know, there has just been a text message sent by Dermot Desmond somehow. I don't know how much of a conversation has actually been held there. But if the opening is there now, we should be going in and trying put everything towards bringing him in. Every penny, every ounce of effort. Just get Eddie Howe through the doors, please, I beg of you. And that does it. Let me know your opinions towards this news today in the comments below. I've gave everything I have to. It's not new news. If you've not seen it already, well, there you go. It's new news to you. But I'm buzzing at the prospect of it, but I am fully ready to be hurt again. I really am. I'm just waiting to be let down. Please don't let me down. Please. Like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.